Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought number 1779. I have come this many days in a row to bring you morsels of a thought of wisdom. Hopefully, that we learn the right things to do for ourselves because knowing the right things to do is a form of wisdom, and then actually taking the magic action to do it is actually virtue. We're bringing more virtue into the world with morsels of a thought from other people every day. Since I'm not very wise, I simply borrow wisdom from people like George J. Chanos, former Nevada Attorney General, who wrote this book, Millennial Samurai Book 1, A Mindset for the 21st Century. Respect your elders. Chapter 89. Treat your elders as you would want your children to treat you. Lead by example. The older citizens of ancient Greece and Rome were highly respected for their wisdom. Councils of elders helped rule these societies. In Greek and Greek American culture, old age is still honored and celebrated. Respect for elders is central to Greek and Italian families. The same is true of many cultures, such as Yin Yang's background culture of Chinese. The traditional basis, says the author, for elder respect in Asian cultures is Confucian teachings. In the teachings of Confucius, respect for parents and elders is essential. Stop that. My cat is trying to climb into a plastic bag. In the teachings of Confucius, respect for parents and elders is a central theme and is seen as an essential foundation for a good society. Essentially, it directs offspring to recognize the care and aid received from their parents and, in return, to pay respect to their parents. Material support for one's parents is not all that is expected. Deference to your elders and genuine reverence for them is also expected. I want to say that um, in some examples of that culture moving to this country, America, the deference is lost in the mix. And sometimes the children, especially because of their American upbringing, where you challenge with people with questions all the time, which shows a sign of learning and grappling with facts and theories, a lot of parents from Asian cultures become rather disappointed that their children learned something different. But as adults, the children eventually could turn around and realize where their parents came from, that this deference was important. Okay, back to the author George J. Chanos. According to Confucius, the legendary Chinese philosopher, elder respect must also extend beyond the boundary of the family. At home, quote, at home, a young man should be dutiful toward his parents. Going outside, he should be respectful toward other elders and be cautious in deeds and trustworthy in words, end quote. This is from the Analects of Confucius translation. We all grow old. Whenever you look at an elderly person, understand this. One day, that will be you. How do you want to be treated when you're old? Mountaineers normally have the most experienced member of the team lead the group, and for good reason. They do it because experienced climbers either know the best routes and or know where to step to avoid hurting or killing themselves. The idea is that the more experienced climber is the expert, and the younger members of the team, even if they're more physically fit, need to learn from them and respect their knowledge. Not using their knowledge would be foolish. When you have an amazing knowledge bank, why wouldn't you use it? Look at this. I have books here, and I have about 12 feet worth of books out on the other side, some of which we've read. We've read at least 3 feet worth of books on my show, maybe 4 or 5 feet of books so far. And we have read every word of such as uh, uh, Marcus Aurelius's Metamorphosis. Okay, so such as that. And the one with simply Could You But Find It um, by the husband of Marla. Oh, what's her name again? I can't remember. But anyway, Could You But Find It? That was a good book too. Okay, when you have an amazing knowledge bank, why wouldn't you use it? Simply by virtue of their age. I mean, look at this is what we're doing. This is exactly what Morsels of a Thought is doing, is getting wisdom from other people who have more experience than we do in certain things. So we know what to do and learn how to do it. Simply, author says, by virtue of their age, your elders have seen more than you have. They may not know what you know. Their experiences and their knowledge may be very different from your own, but that does not mean that you can't learn from them. On the contrary, you can learn a great deal from them that will be very relevant to your life. People who have experienced many years of life have a different perspective from someone who is seeing things for the first time. With this experience comes wisdom that can be handed down. The history of our lives comes from our elders. Who we are derives from our parents and our ancestors. Disrespecting those who came before us is like disrespecting ourselves. Your elders know you better than anyone and are therefore in a better position to advise you than most. Learn from them. Treasure them. Even if I had a twin sister and I was born a second earlier, she would need to respect me as an elder in the Confucian way. So if somebody is even a second older, you have to call them by their elder name. It's interesting. Okay. Action is magic. Action is magic. We are reading from Book 1, Millennial Samurai, A Mindset for the 21st Century by George J. Chanos. We are reading morsels of a thought of wisdom. Hopefully that we learn the right things to do, because knowing the right things to do is wisdom, and then actually taking the action to do it creates virtue. Action is magic in that sense. Oh, here. Sorry. Look at that rocket. It's kind of cute, isn't it? Anyway, action. Pablo Picasso, Spanish painter, sculptor, printmaker, and ceramicist, said, "Action is the foundational key to all success. Every journey begins with a first step." That's also Chinese. um, you can have a great idea. It's a journey of 1,000 li, 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It's a li is about half a mile. Anyway, you can have a great idea, says the author. You can even have the right plan, but only action can transform your idea into reality. If you are to achieve your goals, you must act. The nature of your action will normally, although not always, determine the outcome. Luck, timing, and circumstance can and will influence outcomes as well, but it is excellence and consistency of action more than any other factor that will most reliably determine outcome. Reading this book will inform you, but only applying what you learn will advance you. Taking action helps you to overcome your fears. It changes the way others perceive you and the way you perceive yourself. It changes your attitude, builds your self confidence, and improves your self image. When you take action, it not only affects your life, it impacts the lives of all those around you. In Chinese, traditional Chinese Qigong, it is a saying that one person does the practice and the whole family benefits. Okay. Okay, back to Mr. Chanos. Taking action exposes you to new people. It provides you with new experiences and opportunities. It allows you to acquire new skills. Whatever your goals, dreams, or aspirations might be, action is required to achieve them. Hashtag action is magic. Hashtag action is magic. Delegation. Delegation is a multiplying force. Delegation allows one person to direct and leverage the efforts and talents of many. It facilitates execution, growth, and expansion. Delegation is essential to scale. Think about what's stopping you from delegating. Are you a perfectionist, impatient, or intolerant? Do you have a need for control? Do you have difficulty working with others? Perhaps you're simply not good at managing people. It is important that you understand the importance of delegation and create circumstances that allow for it. Either become good at delegating or work with others who are good at it. Success should not be dependent exclusively on your own efforts. If it is, your success will be limited. Delegation allows you to leverage the impact and influence of others. So it is indeed a multiplying force because when you have other people doing things, there's a huge force involved. The forces of all those people together aligned into your goal, it's very, very much more force than one person doing it. It allows you to accomplish multiple tasks simultaneously through using multiple human resources. Learn to delegate. Interesting. Grit and growth mindset. Grit is defined by Angela Lee Duckworth, a distinguished professor of psychology at the University of Pennsylvania, as perseverance and passion for long-term goals. Dr. Duckworth and her colleagues studied grit as a personality trait. This was a study that was videotaped as well. Not videotaped, but a presentation was made on video as well. I think it may have been a TED Talk about grit. I'm not sure if it was a TED Talk, but it was definitely on video. Dr. Duckworth and her colleagues studied grit as a personality trait and observed that individuals high in grit were able to maintain their determination and motivation over long periods despite experiences with failure and adversity. And they concluded that grit is a better predictor of success than intellect or talent. Like, do I have grit? I have been doing this for 1,779 days. Do I have grit? I don't know. Let me see. Anyway, Dr. Duckworth, her team went to West Point Academy and tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and which would drop out. They went to the National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which students would advance farthest in the competition. They went to high-risk schools and tried to predict which teachers would be there at the end of the school year and which teachers would have the best outcomes in their classes. They looked at salespeople in private companies and tried to predict who would keep their jobs and who would make the most money. In all these different environments, one characteristic emerged as the most reliable predictor of success. It wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't appearance, it wasn't physical strength or health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit has nothing to do with intelligence or talent. It's passion and perseverance for long term goals. Passion and perseverance require stamina. Grit requires sticking with your future day in and day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years and years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Albert Einstein, German born theoretical physicist, said, "It's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer." Dr. Duckworth asked thousands of high school students to take grit questionnaires and then waited more than a year to see who would graduate. She found that grittier kids were far more likely to graduate. We are reading Millennial Samurai, Book 1, A Mindset for the 21st Century by George J. Chanos, former Nevada Attorney General. And we read books, we read wisdom, we read in order, hopefully, that we gain some wisdom. Wisdom being knowing what to do in our lives, what's good for us, what's good for others. We need to also make sure that what we do is constructive. Constructive being good. Destructive is not good. So, constructive. What we do, if we do it, it's constructive and it's right for us and it's the timing is good and it doesn't interfere with something else that's more important or long term, then you have to learn from people who have wisdom. That's just the way it is. Okay. Dr. Duckworth says, Dr. Chanos said, Dr. Duckworth doesn't know where grit comes from. However, she believes that grit can be developed by having a quote, growth mindset, end quote, a concept developed by Dr. Carol Dweck, Dweck, the Lewis and Virginia Eaton Professor of Psychology at Stanford University. A growth mindset is a belief that the ability to learn is not fixed, that it can change with your effort. Wow. Neuroscientists now know that this is in fact possible. See neuroplasticity, as we saw in yesterday's book as well. Yay. Yay. I think these authors know each other. Neuroscientists now know that this is in fact possible. See neuroplasticity. Dr. Dweck has shown that when kids read and learn about the brain and how it changes and grows in response to challenge, they're much more likely to persevere when they fail because they don't believe that failure is a permanent condition. Success requires a growth mindset and grit. I'm going to tell you, there was a problem when I was when I dropped out of when I was dropped out of college. I felt that the failure was permanent, and so for many years, I'd say many years, I wound up with that mindset, and I was very unhappy. But on some occasion, something switched and I was able to say, I can choose to be happy. And it was without medication. If I want to pretend I'm happy right now, I wonder what will happen. And once I did that, everything came together. It was a growth mindset. It was that mindset, a little more effort and more grit, I guess. So I wanted to say that as an example of my life. Touch things once. Okay, that's chapter 93, page 197. We often read an email and then leave it in our inbox. We may flag it to deal with it later. When someone tells us to send them a text or an email, more often than not, we don't do it immediately. We wait, We procrastinate. We create to-do lists. Successful people try to, quote, touch things once, end quote. They don't wait or procrastinate. They deal with the issue right then and there. This practice is far more efficient. It avoids forgetting the need. It avoids forgetting and the need to reread or revisit the item a second or third time. That's key too. Try to touch things only once. When someone asks you to do something, do it immediately whenever possible. If I ask you to send me your contact information, don't make a note on your to-do list and send it to me later. Just text or email it to me immediately. By getting into this habit, you will save time and you will complete the task while eliminating the risk of forgetting or failing to complete the task. Avoid to-do lists. Many of the items on to-do lists never get done. Put everything on your calendar and then work and live from that calendar. That's exactly what I do. I have a calendar from a company called flylady.net. That's Marla Cilley. Marla Cilley. It was her husband that wrote that book. Could you but find it? I can't remember his name, but it's her husband that wrote that book. So it's very interesting. That's how I got that book. It's a great, great story. Anyway, put everything on your calendar and then work and live from that calendar. I do that. I have a wall calendar. I'm still a pencil and paper kid. I still write it down, and what I do to adapt is I take a photo of my pages of calendar for the next few months. Every single day that anytime I add anything to the calendar, I take a photo of that page and the next few pages that are consecutive to it. Okay, so anyway, Dr. Chanos says, schedule your entire day into segments and try to group like items like family and friends into blocks. This will help to keep you organized and help you to avoid forgetting important tasks. Like, for example, I have my breakfast section, my show section, my pre-garden section, my garden section, and my post-garden section, and my post-garden section. So in that way, I am able to put certain tasks together there. When I go out, I say, well, if it's before 3 p.m., then I can do it. Excuse me. Otherwise, I yawn like this out there. So anyway, prioritize. Dale Carnegie, American writer and lecturer, said, do the hard jobs first. The easy jobs will take care of themselves. Well, when deciding what action to take, we often focus on the smaller, easier to complete items first. This is generally a mistake. Focus on completing the most important and or time-sensitive items first. Check the items off your calendar as you complete each one of them. Completing insignificant items while ignoring or delaying the completion of more important and or time-sensitive items is a failure to prioritize properly. However, in the teaching of physics, my professor once said that if you wanted to gain confidence in doing multiple problems, do the easy problems first so you could accumulate the number of problems you've solved in your homeworks. That is the only time I've heard the opposite be true. But actually doing the harder things first makes sure that the hardest thing gets done. Otherwise, you don't do it that day. You put it off because it's hard to do. So anyway, okay, I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Old Kinderhook. Bye bye.